Welcome to another episode of Stories of Hope Worldwide. Today we have Piet from Amsterdam, and Piet was addicted to crack cocaine for many, many years, 17 years old to 33 to be exact. And drugs did a lot of damage in his life. Today he's working in addictions, helping other people recover. And he's an inspirational guy. Hi, Piet. How you going?
I'm fine. Thank you very much, Kerrie. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you. Thanks so much for reaching out. LinkedIn's a great platform, isn't it?
It is actually to connect to a lot of people worldwide in order to try to get the recovery of addiction in worldwide.
Yeah, and that's how we connected up, because I often share my stories of being a recovering alcoholic and pill addict, and we've seen each other's stuff, and it's really great when you meet somebody who's so passionate and like-minded in an area and about helping other people recover from what we've also been through ourselves. Hey,
True.
Nothing like lived experience to let others know there's hope.
Yeah, it helps a lot. It helped me actually. That's how I got into recovery. Someone else reaching out to me and telling them what their experiences was with recovery. So yeah, for me, it's doing the same thing that was helping me in the beginning.
That's great. So you became addicted to crack at 17. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. I started doing drugs when I was 13.
13. Wow.
And that was in the schoolyard. I started doing marijuana and later on some pills, ecstasy, speed, cocaine. But when I found out about crack cocaine, my life was completely unmanageable after that. Before that, it was already unmanageable.
Yeah.
A lot of drama in my life with my family and school and work. But after I started doing crack cocaine, it completely vanished everythly.
It's a
completely
terrible drug, isn't it? Shocking drug.
It is actually. It doesn't stop. It continues constantly, and everything needs to go in order to get what I wanted at that time.
Yeah, and I've seen photos of you when you were in the thick of your addiction, and you just are unrecognizable. Like, you look like a totally different person. And
I hope in a good way.
Yeah, you do. You look really healthy today, being clean for a while now. So how long have you been clean for now?
Coming up 13 years in September.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's been a hell of a ride.
Yeah. It's really wonderful, and it's really amazing, because coming off a drug like that you've been on for so long, the odds of recovery are not extremely high, are they? But we're
not
better and better.
True, and through self-help programs and people who are reaching out, we find more people that wants to stay clean and wants to stay abstinent and find recovery. But it's a particularly difficult drug to get off from.
Yeah, in the 12-step programs here in Australia, we've got a lot of people that have been off alcohol for a long time and like prescription medication and stuff. But when it comes to the hard drugs, there's not a lot of long-term sobriety in the 12-step rooms here in Australia. You get the odd person, but it's something that's really rare. So people like you are like rare gems, because you have the keys to show others how they can recover.
I try.
So
I do my best.
Can we go back to, I want to talk a little bit about as much as you want to share about your early life. Can you take me back to the first time that you were ever offered drugs, and and how that happened, how you first started taking drugs?
Well, to be honest, the first time I took a drug, including alcohol, actually alcohol is also a drug, was taking little sips of the empty bottles or the glasses that were on the sink at my parents' house.
Okay.
So when I was like 8 or 9 or anything, I was like taking little sips from the alcohol glasses, and I felt a little bit light in my head. And I was like, yeah, this is nice. So at that time, I started doing a little, but not very unmanageably. But when at the age of 13, I was in the schoolyard. I was in this big high school with a lot of students, and I completely lost myself because I didn't have any knowledge of what to do or what to expect or any kind of responsibility how to deal with that situation because I wasn't prepared. My parents didn't not really prepare myself for a big step like that.
Right.
And the first year was okay, but the second year I completely lost it after I got in contact with other students who were doing marijuana at the schoolyard. And I was curious, I wanted to know what they were doing and what they were feeling like. And then I needed some kind of connection with people that I thought had the wisdom, but they didn't. I looked up to those people. And I was, as a child, I was very rebellious. So I was very curious because as a child, I was very unknown about life because I wasn't really taught how to deal with situation. My biological father left me and my mom when I was 1 year old. I got a stepdad when I was 3, and that was a beautiful guy. But the connection with my family was not really there. We didn't speak about feelings or emotions or the past. There were a lot of secrets in my family that my mother or other people didn't want to talk about. And when I asked about my biological father to my mom, I saw the hurt in her eyes. So at a certain point, I stopped asking about my biological father. But yeah, I didn't know what to feel, what to expect, I didn't know anything about responsibilities. So as a child, I was very unknown, is the best word I can think of. And like I said, when I was 13, I was very curious. I wasn't my personality didn't really develop in a positive way.
Yeah.
And I tried a drug, marijuana, at the schoolyard. And I was actually, from the moment I did that, I wanted more because it brought me in some state of mind that I really liked at the time. It made me flee into a different world. And I didn't have to feel my feelings of, yeah, of emptiness, actually.
I know that feeling. When I first tried alcohol for the first time, I just felt like it coloured me in, and I thought this is the answer to all my problems and all my pain. I never have to feel pain again with alcohol in my life. But as we'll hear about your story down the track, what we thought was our best friend soon turns its back on us, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it took a really fast lane after 15, 16, the whole hardcore scene in the Netherlands came up with doom, 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 doom music, and I completely lost it. I went to parties 3, 4, 5, 6 nights a week and doing drugs every night, and I was completely losing it. And at a certain point, like I said, I was 17 years old, and at the after party, I was offered crack cocaine. And I used that, and it felt like a complete explosion in my head. And I couldn't feel anymore. I couldn't think anymore. But that was the only feeling that I wanted for the rest of my life, actually. And I completely lost it. And I did that for 17 years on and off. And in those 17 years, I spent also 10 years in prison in different sentences in the Netherlands because I needed to pay for my drugs. And it was completely unmanageable. Completely unmanageable. I was on the streets, I was homeless, I didn't shower anymore. I completely lost it. And sometimes I was happy that I got arrested. So I had some peace, I had a bed, I had some food, I had some coffee, I could rest. So sometimes I was even happy when I got arrested.
I've heard that often, and I've walked alongside a lot of people that have been addicted to drugs and are addicted to drugs, and they say that at least they know when they're in prison, there's a certainty there. They have a bed, they have food, and they at least know what to expect. But then once they're out of there, they're back out into the unknown, and it's a frightening place, isn't it? When
it is actually, I experienced a lot of
alcoholic, and you've lost your way. It's a terrifying place out there, the world.
Yeah, and I didn't understand why I was doing the things that I did. I completely how do I say this? The self-loathing and the hatred became so big. The self-stigma, the internalized stigma was very big. I didn't understand why I couldn't step out of it, why I did not have the brains or the balls, if I may say so, to step out of that situation. And that place is a very strange place to be, that you do want to change things, but you don't know how, or you do not get the right help. And that's a very strange position to be in.
Yeah, it's certainly willpower alone just can't do it, can it?
No.
And we hear
I
that
tried.
in the 12-step rooms.
I tried many times different options, but I also made a difference between soft and hard drugs. So I thought I could drink or smoke marijuana, and that was not the problem. But it always led to crack cocaine again, always. And I learned that actually after I became a member of the 12-step program. Before that, I did not realize that.
Right. And are you able to share with us, for anybody that's watching, that's thinking, gee, do I have a problem? Or that's in the middle of having gone to the really dark places that drug addiction or alcoholism takes us to, and is feeling like that shame, like I'm all alone, I've done this, I can't believe that I've done this. Can you take us to some of the really dark places that your addiction took you to? Whatever you feel comfortable sharing. We're happy to listen.
Well, where to start? Because I did so many things that daylight could not bear, actually. And I stole the wedding ring from my mom. I robbed my grandmother. I broke into the neighbors' houses. I did robberies. I stole all kinds of things from my ex-girlfriends in order to use. I did almost everything in order to get what I needed to maintain my drug addiction. And like I said, I buried everything behind me: relationship, houses, jobs. I tried every time when I got out of prison to reset my life. But like I said, I always did something, drinking or smoking or whatever. And it always led to my crack cocaine addiction. And if I start doing crack cocaine, I sell everything. I sell the shoes on my feet. I sell almost everything, so it's a completely, well, also I put myself in a lot of physical danger. I had, I don't know the English word, but your lungs can, if you smoke too much, it's called a klaplong in Dutch. So I had that and I just carried on.
Emphysema?
Yeah, I'm not sure the English word, but I had lung problems. And I kept on smoking, and I had like injuries on my knees and my ankles from walking all around all day. And I kept on smoking. And I hurt people. I hurt ex-girlfriends. I hurt my family. It's been a lot of painful experiences in active addiction, a lot. And I hurt it myself as well, because I am my most critical person towards myself. So I was always condemning myself. Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? Why you're not able to do this? And that whole mental state was fucking me up, if I may say so. And when I met a person that shared with me the same experiences that I had, and he found a way out, I got some hope back, because I felt completely hopeless. I thought I was gonna die of my addiction. The next step would be needles in my arms or in my neck or whatever, in order to maintain that addiction, that active addiction. I'm very happy and very grateful that I'm out of that situation and that I am in recovery, and I have a completely different life with a lot of beautiful things going on for me. But yeah, the pain and the shame and the guilt, it's been a heavy bag on my back, bag on my back.
Yeah.
So for people that are still in that, addiction is a disease, and the fact that it is a disease, you're not responsible for that fact, whether it comes from a genetical compound or its social impact or whatever it comes from. You're not responsible for the disease of addiction. You're only responsible for the things you try to get out of that recovery. And it's a painful place, and a lot of people have a big judgment on addiction. Oh, you're a loser. You don't have any back. You're mentally ill. So we don't take you seriously, or the way the media is projecting addiction in a very bad way. So people start to believe they are bad people. I started to believe that I was a bad person, that I didn't deserve to live, or didn't deserve to be happy, or to find love, or anything. But I am. I deserve a good life. You know, I am a good person, and everybody is a good person. Even those who do terrible things have a good person inside them. And I hope with what I do with my work, with my company, is to show people that they are worth it. Everybody is worth recovery.
Oh, that's so awesome. And I know what you're saying about the stigma with addiction. And I think there's a lot of people out there who really, they haven't experienced it, but they make a lot of judgments and assumptions about it. And I even had one psychologist say to me calling it a disease was a very hopeless comment. And that it sounds like it's something you can catch. And I've thought, clearly you have no idea really about what addiction is about. Because
True.
it's not something that we, go out and try and get. But like you said,
no, you cannot buy it in the supermarket.
No. And it's not something that anyone can catch either. There's a pre-genetic disposition to addiction. And science and studies have shown this over and over again. And,
True.
And we're in that
big problem.
We happen to be in that percentage. So, but we get the joy of recovery and seeing what a wonderful place and life you can have when you don't need that stuff.
It's amazing.
And we get
truly amazing
people who have been to the brink of soul destruction and back, and seeing those people recover as we recover is just one of life's greatest joys, isn't it?
It is, actually, and it's an amazing journey. I've met so many beautiful people. I've achieved so many great things already. And like I said, I have a beautiful little house here in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. I have a job that I like. I work in psychiatry with people that have mental illnesses or also addiction problems. And I have my own little company that I try to put recovery of addiction out there. In what kind of way doesn't really matter. Yeah. I just want to show that it can be done, and we do not need to stigmatize the people that are addicted, but we need to help them, support them. Because if we put them down, they're never gonna find a way out. If we help them, support them, teach them, educate them, but not only the people that are in active addiction, but also the people that working with addicts need sometimes to be educated.
That's right. And I think that everyone deserves a second chance. Like,
or a third,
like
or
say, we're all just one step away from the stuff up, aren't we?
Yeah, it doesn't discriminate.
No. And I'm one drink away from a drunk, and it's a day at a time, isn't it? And
it is.
Being graceful with one another, no matter what's gone on. I mean, I'm sure you've heard the stories as well in the 12-step rooms, but people that woke up and they have blood on their car and they have no recollection of what had happened the night before, and they wake up terrified that what if I've hit someone or killed someone, and they're in that room trying to get well, living with all those nightmares of the past. But on the recovery journey, and we're heading on the way of hope in this interview soon too. We already are. But at the height of your addiction, how much was it costing you a week?
A week?
To crack cocaine?
Well, if one hit is like 10 euros, so that will be 200-300, I think around 2,500 euros a week.
Oh, okay, euros. I'm not sure what that is in Australian dollars.
Me neither.
But anybody watching,
Sorry?
Or anyone watching from Amsterdam will know what that is.
Sure.
And the Aussies can work it out.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of money. Like I said, if one hit is 10 euros, then I needed to have 20, 30, 50 hits a day, and at a certain
Wow.
point,
30 hits
I
a
did have,
day.
yeah, I did not stop. I was awake for 3, 4, 5, 6 nights and completely losing it, being paranoid, completely wasted. And I didn't took anything. Well, in the end, I did. I took some heroin to calm down, because otherwise, after 5 or 6 nights not sleeping, doing drugs all day, I lost it completely. I did strange thing. I threw refrigerators out of the balcony because there were people inside. It was crazy. I lost it really. And I sometimes, after 5 or 6 days, I tried to calm down by doing a little bit of heroin, but it did not stop until I was stopped by the police because I did a burglary or a theft, or I robbed a tourist here in Amsterdam or whatever. I was stopped by the police. And that's what I earlier said. Sometimes I was happy because after staying up for 5, 6, 7 nights, I did not eat. I could not even drink. I took little zips of water in order to not get dehydrated. I did not eat for 3, 4, 5 days. I was like 60, less than 60 kilos. It was crazy. I was like, oh, like this. And it was really crazy. I completely lost it.
A really heavy duty drug addiction, hey? One of the heaviest I've heard of.
Well, it's not a competition.
Oh, no, I know. Yeah. You've got a good sense of humor.
Everybody has different stories, and everybody's story is unique, and everybody's story is their story. So it's not up to me to say, oh, you're less or you're more, or your addiction is bigger or lesser, or because people can lose themselves in marijuana as well. Because I work with psychiatric patients who have like a psychosis. How do you say that?
Psychosis.
Yeah, sensibility. Yeah. Yeah. And if they smoke because they hear voices, and when they smoke, the voices go away. But by smoking, you have like a psychosis sensibility. The marijuana puts the psychosis back on top. So it's a vicious circle that goes on and on and on. And but it's not a game or a match from who's better or worse. Everybody's story is unique, and everybody has a way to come out of this, to find a new way of life, and to lose the desire of using, and you don't have to use anymore.
So what was the point of rock bottom for you, where you were like, I am just wasted, I can't do this anymore, I've had enough? I
was in prison, and there I met this guy that reached out to us, doing 12-stepping us, actually telling his story of being in prison, being addicted, unmanageability. And I talked to the guy, and he was a volunteer in prison that was discussing these topics with us. And in the beginning, I only came to his meetings because there was coffee and cookies. And that was the reason that I wanted to participate. Yeah. But then he started to talk about his life, and I found recognition in his story. And he was in prison in the US, and he found a way out by attending 12-step meetings and following that program. And I thought, yeah, that might work for you, but it will not work for me because I'm hopeless and I'm not worth it. And he kept coming back, and I could go out of jail early to attend a specific program. And he told me, come to, because he was also the owner of Safe Houses in Amsterdam. And he told me, after your detention, come to Safe House because we can help you. You can go to day treatment, you can go to meetings, you will live in a safe house with other people in recovery. And I was a bit stubborn. I'm still very stubborn, but at that time as well, even though I felt hopeless, I wanted to try it on my way. I wanted to get out of this on my way. So I went out again, out of prison, and I started doing a job in a bar, of all places. And of course, I lost it. After the second night, I was dancing on the everything, and I was completely partying. And I started to doing crack again because all my boundaries were gone because of the alcohol. And I said, yeah, let's do crack. It's a great idea. This time I can handle it. Well, I couldn't. And after a month, I was back in prison at the same floor where this guy was coming there still every Thursday night. And he told me, you cannot do this by yourself. You need help of other recovering addicts. You need help of people who have been there where you have been in order to get out of it. You cannot do this by yourself. And then I made a deal with him. I said, okay, listen, I'm going to try this one more time by myself. And if that doesn't
sounds like what I did.
And if I'm not successful, I will call you. It didn't took a month. It didn't took 1 month before I got back in prison.
Wow.
And I called the guy and said,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm done. I'm finished. I don't know what to do anymore. Please tell me what to do, because I don't know anymore. I've buried everything behind me. I'm doing this for over 20 years. I've spent 10 years in prison. I treated people badly. I treated myself very badly. I didn't have any diplomas, any certificates, nothing when I was 33. So I need to restart my life. Please help me. Tell me what to do and I will do it. I surrendered.
Total surrender.
And
yeah.
I didn't know. Even though if I had to run the streets naked, I will do it, because I don't want to be in this lifestyle anymore. I don't want this to be the end of it. I want to be happy, because I wasn't happy. And today I can say I am happy with all that I have. But at that time I was done. Rock bottom completely. Yeah.
And it's we underestimate the power of one caring person, don't we?
We do. It was this guy, and I'm still, and there was this other guy. He was like a priest in prison, and he talked with me every week, and he treated me humanly, and he started sharing his personal stories as well, and that brought me also a little bit back into humanity. The level of with another person talking on normal feelings, because in prison you don't talk about feelings. There's a lot of violence, and there's a lot of stigma, and there's a lot of bullshit going on, a lot of drugs as well, and you're incarcerated, so you're there, and it's hell. It's pure hell. I never want to go back. Never ever. I do go back actually, but I also can go out after my training session or my presentation. So sometimes I still have the feeling that I'm in prison, but I'm very happy and lucky that the doors are opening again when I'm finished with my presentation.
So you go in now to help other people get out.
Yeah, and also to train staff.
Yeah,
I also train staff on recognition addiction, on how to deal with people under the influence of substances, also first aid by overdoses, things like that. So yeah, I train staff, and I'm talking to inmates.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that.
And maybe the organization, the Beyond Bars Institute, is coming from Australia, I believe.
Beyond Bars, is it?
Institute, yeah. It's in Australia and in the UK, and I'm trying to work with them together to bring that program into the Dutch prison system.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard that program before, but I'll look it up. Something you said before was that you didn't feel like you were worth it. And something that being a counsellor and a psychotherapist, and I know you work in the same field as well. There's something so amazing for the person that comes in and bears their soul and the things that they've locked in here that they never feel like they could tell anyone. And then knowing that the person that's listening still loves and accepts them after they've shared that, isn't there?
True. That's one of the most amazing things of counseling sessions.
Yeah.
If someone is opening up and has the feeling that they can trust you, or they can be honest with you, and they will not be rejected by what they're saying or feeling.
Yeah.
And I really had to learn that. And sometimes I still find it difficult to completely open up. I have a lot of traumatic experiences, and I've tried many different kinds of therapy, and I always distrusted the person across the table or in the seat across me. And I learned through being in meetings and talking with my sponsor and fellow addicts that I'm not the only one with these issues. I'm not the only one who has been traumatized or rejected or have a past like I have. There are many people. I learned to slowly, step by step, opening up, because always in prison, on the streets, you don't share your feelings. You know, you do what you have to do in order to get what you want,
Survival.
but you don't talk about it. Yeah, it's so and also in my upbringing, you know, at home we didn't talk about feelings, you know, as how do you feel today, or even the words I love you were not said, and there was no affection or whatsoever. So there was always distance, there was always secrets, there was always things that were unknown. So as a child, it was very weird growing up for what is what, you know, I didn't understand. And then I stepped into my addiction, my active addiction, and that completely fucked me up. So when I was 33, I had to rewire my whole brain, my feelings, my thoughts, my emotions, everything I had to redo. And the step work really did help me with that, especially step 4 and 9 and 6 and 7, actually. But
I love the 12
it's
steps.
yeah, it's been an amazing process. It's been a journey, and I've learned so many things about how to look at myself, how to look at other people, the world, how to deal with situations. It's beautiful, actually. It's really beautiful. Coming from where I come from, where I am today, it's a completely 180 degrees change.
That's so awesome. And you look so happy as well.
I tried, even though I had a
I
shitty
know
night.
yeah, we still have life to get through, don't we? But you look
True.
content. Like you can see that you look content inside, and that's
I feel content. Yeah, and that's of being clean, of course. That's the big thing. But also really finding different means and ways to deal with situations. And I really, like I said, I really had to learn everything. Now, friendships, relationships, intimacy, sexuality, everything.
yeah.
I needed to learn. And still that intimacy, sexual part, that is very difficult. It's very difficult to be in a loving relationship where intimacy and sexuality is also being there in a healthy way. Because I also had a very distorted sexual, how do you say, view on things. But that was all because of how I felt and how I looked at the world and at women, actually. And that also completely changed.
Yeah, it's a whole different world, isn't it?
It is, actually.
When we're in the middle of addiction, intimacy and sexuality and everything. And then to have to become clean or sober and then face life, the things that we've escaped from our whole life, and to feel feelings and to go through experiences sober and clean, it is a whole new way of learning, isn't it?
Well, I remember in treatment, when I came in the program, I had two feelings: happy and angry.
Yeah.
Nothing else. It was all happy, angry, happy, angry, happy, angry, complete, and changed in milliseconds.
Yeah.
And then I in treatment, we got this wheel of feelings. And I was like, okay, so what am I feeling? It's a bit this, it's a bit, I really had to check my feelings constantly because I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I really had to have that wheel to tell my counselor or group members, well, yeah, today I feel like, oh yeah, this.
Well, when I came into the 12-step program, I cried every day for months. And I remember sharing a live video saying that today I only cry maybe once a month. And to me, that's a big deal because I didn't know that I'd ever be able to get through life without the feelings of, for me, it was sadness and fear or happy. But
it was so overwhelming, probably.
Yeah, a lot of sadness and a lot of fear, you know, for me growing up. And sadness is probably the dominating, and loneliness are the dominating two things that get me. But we'll talk about recovery now because for people that are early on the journey, and as we're talking about finding new ways to deal with things, what are some of the coping strategies that you have in place today when things get hard?
Yeah, for me personally, is letting go of control. That's one of the big issues, that because I thought I was in control, but I lost control on active addiction. I came into recovery and I thought I gained back control. You know what? So I'm not using anymore. Everything is different. So I'm back in control. It's my life. My ego started to grow. I got, I looked better. I had clean clothes. I felt good. My ego was building up, and I was like, okay, I'm the man. I'm the man. and and I got some attention from women. I was like, yeah, this is great. And but then, it all. I had to realize I did not have control over other people, places, and things. Not even over my thinking or over my feeling. The only control I have is over the next step that I take. The next a healthy step that I take, because I also can take other steps, but the next healthy step. What is in this situation the best thing to do? What would my sponsor tell me? What would the program tell me? What would God tell me? Whatever your higher power tell you.
Yeah.
The gut feeling. If the gut feeling is not, well, you have to learn to trust on that gut feeling, because in the beginning I didn't know I had a gut feeling because I didn't feel anything. So I really had to learn on the gut feeling that I had in certain situations. If it doesn't feel good, please do not do it. And you cannot control other people. I've been in meetings, in business meetings, that this concept and this tradition, and you need to do this. It doesn't really work like that. Just let go and let God or your higher power do whatever is done, because you cannot do anything about it. It's better to learn to accept life as it is, as it comes to you, and deal with that, than try to control things. Because if I take back control, I also will think I can use again, because I can manage that. If let's have one drink. Well, the first week, perfect. And the second week, well, I did one, maybe I can do two as well. Maybe that will work for me. Within a month, I will be laying on the floor in some bar, vomiting and whatever. It doesn't work. I do not have control over life, over people, over things, or over money or whatever. I just can be me with all my positive energy or all the choices that I make in order to help people, and whatever comes. So step out of the control and let go, and work the program as best as you can.
I love that. And that's exactly how I live my life. As soon as I start to lose my peace, I sit back and I'm like, what have I been trying to do in my own strength? I've been trying to push doors to happen and things to open and things to happen. And when that happens, comparison starts to set in, the feeling of I'm not good enough. And so me losing my peace is an indicator to me. I'm trying to control things again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So you said before you had no certificates and you didn't do training and you didn't finish anything. So you've gone on to do training and tell us a bit about the career that you've been able to build for yourself.
Yeah. Well, after I went to the safe house, after my detention, I did a 3-month day program based on the 12 steps, the Minnesota model. I stayed in that safe house for 11 months. And in prison, like I said, I met this priest, and he helped me buy an education out of this little pot in the church. He offered me money. He bought books. Wow. And when I was in my cell, I could do homework, and I sent it to the school, and I got it back with grades and everything. And at a certain point, I had to do my exams, 3 exams. And my case manager of the prison said, you're not going to do it here. You're not going to go out. You do that when you are finishing your sentence. Yeah. And I went to the warden of the prison, and I asked him, listen, this is very important to me. I want to finish my education. If I do this, I have a bigger chance on the for work. And he agreed that I could do that outside prison, had to come back the same night. I did 3 exams. I passed those. And when it was after my day program, I still had to do 3 exams in order to get my diploma. And I did that after the treatment. So after 6 months out of prison, I had my diploma of social work, and I started doing a job with mentally handicapped, very high in the autistic spectrum thing, and mentally handicapped, and no, so hearing disabilities. So
Okay.
they were triple diagnosed children.
Right.
And it was very intense because they're autistic. They were very like moving their arms constantly and very feeling very unsafe. So what I needed to learn was to be um, cool with my emotions, because their feelings of safety were depending on how I treat them as a counselor.
Yeah.
So it was a very important learning process for me. In order to deal with these clients, I had to be uh, calm, serene, and but I did not have that from nature. So
Yeah.
what I had to do was I needed to learn to meditate and to pray and to let go of things, because I could not take all my emotions into my job, because otherwise we would have clients that were aggressive all day, because if they feel unsafe, what they know is aggression.
Yeah.
So I was hit with pans, I got hit with chairs, I was spit on, I was kicked, because the clients felt so unsafe that they needed to fight in order to feel safe. And
Yeah.
that's was a very strange learning process of how mental illnesses can develop or present themselves. And I did that for 4 years actually. Then I started working in the safe house that I was living in the beginning of my recovery. I did that for 2 years. I graduated as an addiction counseling during that period. And after 2 years, I stopped doing that and I stepped into the psychiatry, and for an organization that I'm still working for now, um, with people who had schizophrenia. So they were like hearing voices, very paranoid, completely wasted with medication, and they were doing drugs all day in order to get the voices out of their head. And I saw so many hopeless people, because I'm an addict. I was an active addiction, and luckily for me, I only was addicted. I didn't have any mental illnesses. My cognitive level is reasonably fine. I'm not very low in this, and I don't have any really psychiatric problems. My only problem was addiction. But I see so many people who are triple, double diagnosed with all kinds of different
Yeah.
symptoms, diseases, that I see the hopelessness every day in these people's eyes. And I
Yeah.
work with these people every day. And as a residential counselor working with these people, we need to do so many paperwork and everything that I find it very difficult to really get in contact with my clients, to really go into the depth and talk about what's really going on. We
Yeah.
need to address finances and housing and rent and money and everything we need to do. There's not much time to go into depth with clients for what's really going on, what's really going on with you. And now I started my company in 2017 after I got back from Thailand. At a certain point, I'm going to Thailand twice a year, kickboxing and beautiful islands and everything, and the food and the people, and I love it over there. And I got in contact with two guys who wanted to open up a rehab on Koh Samui, one of the islands in the south.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they opened that rehab, and I was on a holiday. And they asked, I met them at a meeting, and they asked me to share the story in the clinic, and I did. There were only two clients at that point because they just opened. I did that story, and they were telling me that they were looking for addiction counselors. And I was like, okay, I have this certificate, and this clinic, this rehab is on this tropical island. And I can go there with my half pants and with my real nice shirt on the scooter with the sun on my face and doing what I love to do. So this whole pretty picture of being an addiction counselor on a beautiful island in Thailand, I was really into that. So I ended my job, I rented out my house, and I left for Koh Samui, Thailand. After 1 month, it was gone, because the two owners were like cowboys. They only saw the money of what could bring a rehab. They
Yeah.
were fighting with each other. The girlfriend of one of the owners was having sex with one of the clients. It was a mess. It
Oh,
was a complete mess. So after a month, they got into a real fight, the two owners. And I said, this is not what I want. I don't want to work here anymore. This is not working for me. This is not how I see rehab. This is not how I see recovery. Okay, and I made a deal to stay there 6 months. So one of the two owners, he paid me out for 6 months. And I said goodbye. But after a month, I was jobless, homeless, in another country, 10,000 miles from my house, feeling completely unsafe. And I didn't know what to do. So I went back to the Netherlands, got my old job back, and started Ikigai counseling in January 2017, because recovery is what I love. And Ikigai is like a Japanese concept. It's like the center of your passion. It's what you think the world needs, what you can get paid for, what you're good at, and what makes you happy every morning to get out of bed, full confidence. And the center of that is Ikigai. That's why I call my company Ikigai. And I give presentations in prison, in companies, at schools. I do one-on-one counseling sessions with clients. I do CBT, relapse prevention, motivational interviewing, reality therapy. That's what I do one-on-one. And the presentations I do at the police academy. Once next week, I go to the police academy here in Amsterdam to inform future cops how to deal with mentally ill people or addictive people in work situations. So because we had a lot of shootings last couple of 2-3 years with mentally ill people who lost it because they were had drug psychosis and they were shot and that's not
when the call out for help, or because there was a disturbance, the police were called, and then
people didn't understand
the police. And
one of them felt so unsafe that he thought he had to arm himself with a knife, and he felt so unsafe that he could not make the difference anymore to a cop or family member or whatever. It's completely, and he was threatening with the knife, and he just got shot by the cops. And I think that is not necessary. We don't have to deal with situations like that by shooting people. And well, that's the Netherlands, and don't even talk about America or whatever. But that's why I try to gain more understanding of people with mental illnesses, including addiction. Because if people know what's going on, they might act differently.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things that I do with my company. I want to defeat the stigma of mental illness or addiction or whatever, because we are all human. Everybody is a human being, and everybody deserves to be treated in a normal, healthy, loving manner. And we don't do that always as a society.
Yeah. Oh, you sound like almost like a male version of what I'm doing in Australia with my work. And I've just become accredited to be a mental health first aid trainer here in Australia. And one of the big topics that we were learning about, which I already knew a lot about, but it's really good that they're covering it, and it's psychosis and schizophrenia, and also the relationship between substance abuse and that as well. But it's very eye-opening for people that have not seen anyone in a psychotic attack, or hearing voices, and it's a great learning tool for everyday people to know what those people are going through and how scary reality is for them.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's very important what we do, Kerrie.
Yeah.
It needs to be done because people needs to be educated on how these things work in the brain or what the effect is on behavior, because we sometimes only look at behavior. He's acting bad, or he's doing that. That's a bad person. But it comes from somewhere. There's a reason why people are doing the things that they are doing. And whether it's a mental illness or an addiction or whatever, it doesn't even really matter as long as we understand what's going on with someone, as long as we can connect with someone as a human being and not as a police officer or a judge or a mother that's like, oh, you're not good enough. No, people are people. We need to love them.
No, and I so agree with you. And something that I often say to, I often say it at the end of Stories of Hope Worldwide too. When I'm talking to people, it's that something that I really believe is that, and you touched on it before, and it's that at the end of the day, despite how much we earn, what title we have, what job we have, whether we're homeless, rich, no matter what we look like you said, we're all human. We're all emotions in skin. When that light goes out at night and we're closing our eyes to go to sleep, we're all the same.
True. True. Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful quote.
Thank
We
you.
are all the
Use
same.
it.
Yeah.
Quote,
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's true.
There's so many people who have difficulties, and that they can use help or an arm or support or a loving word, or it doesn't cost anything to be nice.
Yeah.
You know, why do we need to be putting people down, or you're not good enough, or your religion is that, or your skin of color is this, or what? Fuck it. We all people. Let's love each other.
Yeah. And you know, it's so wonderful meeting you, and another person that really has compassion for people all over the other side of the world. And
True.
you Pete, are truly a story of hope.
Thank you. You as well, Kerrie.
Thank you, and thank you so much for being with us today, and I can't wait to catch up with you next time.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Kerrie.
Thank you.